and it takes Caleb Dressel 1.2 seconds approximately from the beeper going off until his hands are hitting the water. Here are my 3 tips for you. We are looking at how to make swimmers more efficient off of the blocks and making them faster to 15 meters to get a little competitive advantage in that race. And guys, what if I told you that we can actually accomplish this with just 8 weeks of strategic training in the weight room? If you don't believe me, let's look at this video a little deeper. Welcome, Swimmer Strength family. My name is Dennis Hekmati, your performance coach and sports scientist. And like you heard in the intro, we're talking about the starts today. And I'm going to give you 3 distinct tips, but within these tips, I'm going to give you guys a few more tips. So pay attention and let's dissect this a little bit deeper. But let's start by why the start is so unique, because we're not just jumping up, we're jumping both up and we're jumping forward as well. And anywhere from 7.5% to 30% when we're talking about races making up 200 races down to 50 meter races. That's how much they actually make up of a race. So they are really important. And it takes Caleb Dressel 1.2 seconds approximately from the beeper going off until his hands are hitting the water. So we need to be really quick and we can save a lot of time in our race to get that competitive advantage. Here are my 3 tips for you. Number 1, get more coordinated. The more movement capacity that we have stored in our brain that our muscles and our body can perform, the better off we will be in this highly athletic segment when we're talking about swimming. So whether that is playing more soccer, track and field, volleyball, just as a few example guys, wherever we're doing more work on land. So I'm not saying let's do more water polo, right? So let's pick something different, something that we're actually working with gravity, and it's gonna help us get more coordinated and more efficient in finding that perfect hole that all the coaches typically like to talk about. And how do we do that? Jump roping, skipping, any kind of tumbling, whatever you can do to mix up some training and increase coordination with yourself or with your swimmers. Number 2, develop mobility. More specifically so in the hamstrings and around the shoulder blades. And 2 movements you can do here are the posture squat and also long cat camels. The posture squats helps both increase the mobility and the range in the hamstrings, but also strength in the quads. Because when the hips are too low on the blocks, that either means that we are lacking range of motion or we are disengaged in the hamstrings and the glutes when we are in this position. And as for the shoulder blades, we need to find the perfect streamline. And if we need to free up some space around the shoulder blades and the rib cage, the long cat camel pushing against the wall is a fantastic progression from the regular cat camel. Number 3, develop swimming specific power. When we are jumping off of the blocks when we are swimming, we are not just jumping forward and up, it is a mix of a horizontal and a vertical displacement, and our feet are in a split stance position while we are getting off of the blocks. So here are 5 exercises that you can mix up and start including in your program to get a little bit better in your starts. And here are just some quick pointers on these 5 exercises. On the dumbbell drop box jump, make sure that you are staying as straight with your spine as possible and that you are keeping your arms outside of the hips so we're not dropping the dumbbells on top of the feet. And at the same time as we are letting go of the dumbbells, that's when we're actually pushing through the ground and jumping up on the box. Now, the heavier you go here, like the harder it's going to be to hold this position, and you can just progress through here depending on what phase of the year you are. The medicine ball overhead power toss, a fantastic full body exercise where again we're coming down and holding the position before we are exploding up and jumping, extending the legs before we are letting go of the ball. Always trying to have as soft landing on every movement that we're doing here. The seated split stance jump, now we are sitting and more in a relaxed position. We are taking away the isometric force here and really only focusing on the concentric portion. Again, we want to land as stable as possible and mix up between the both legs. The split box jump here, similar stance position when we are starting, and when we are jumping up on the box, we'll land with both legs. If you do get really advanced here, if you're an advanced athlete, you can actually land on one leg, but if you do, you must show some control, that you're not falling out down to the side, that you're landing with some good confidence. And for the one leg broad jump, we are then standing on one leg and swinging the other leg as we are jumping and landing softly on both legs. It is much safer to land on both legs. We have had athletes sometimes being a little bit unmindful, landing on one leg, and we can risk swimmers, especially with weaker ankles, less stable ankles, to roll them if we are landing on one leg. So be wary here, so always land stable on both feet, but let's develop our ability to jump far. It is also important to note that the starts are more explosive than they are plyometric. This means that the start really focuses in on the concentric muscle action, meaning that we don't have the lowering phase of a movement involved. As you can tell, the swimmer is in a complete still position when we hear take your mark. It's typically held for 1 to 2 seconds. Before then, we need to develop concentric force and power to get off the blocks. Now, please take that information with a little bit of grain of salt, because we do need to develop some maximal strength in order to develop more power. So we can actually add more deadlifts, but it's not a major tip for today. But as we're getting more advanced, we do need to develop some maximal strength. Also, there is good research that plyometric abilities have good transfer and carryover to explosive power as well. And all movements, they don't have to be done in a split stance position, but as we are getting closer and closer to the championship meet and we are getting closer to tapering time, it is more appropriate to get the swimmers to actually jump in a split stance position and get a little bit more specific in these positions as we're getting closer and closer into actually performing fast. Guys, those are my 3 tips for you. First, get more coordinated. 2, develop more mobility. And 3, let's get more swimming specific with our power. And if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Share with a friend. Let's build our community, because we have so much more in store for you. And guys, I would love to hear from you guys. Which leg goes in front of the block? Is it the dominant leg or the less dominant leg? Which one do we have on the wedge? And also, how do we track significant improvements to 15 meter? Do you have a way? Please comment below, or comment below if you'd like for me to share my way of how I would track, or how I track significant change to 15 meter with using just a stopwatch. Thank you for joining me. My name is Dennis Ekmati, signing off. And again, like, share, subscribe.